Live. Welcome, everybody.
All right, thank you. And welcome everyone on Facebook. Hello, our Facebook friends, and hello, everybody who's here with us on Wow Wednesday. I'm Trish Carr, one of the founders of Women's Prosperity Network, along with my two sisters, Susan Winter and Nancy Matthews. And it is truly my pleasure on this Wow Wednesday. We call it Wow. Some people call it Hump Day. We call it Wow Wednesday because we stay inspired at Women's Prosperity Network. We stay motivated. And yeah, you could go around saying, oh, it's Wednesday, or you could go on and say, wow, it's Wednesday. So today, I'm so thrilled to introduce you to my sister, my partner, the amazing woman who has been doing this show every single Wednesday with not one break for a very long time. Very long time.
I think I did have one. It was Christmas or something.
Maybe
those years.
Maybe we probably had to stop you. You probably wanted to do it, and we said, "No, it's Christmas. Just don't." So anyway, the woman that is the woman we call the visionary with guts, because she has the vision to see in the future. She has the guts to take on the ideas that come up no matter what. She is extraordinary, a 6-time best-selling author, leader, mentor, an incredible woman, Nancy Matthews.
Hello, everybody. I am so grateful to be here and to get to be in the passenger seat on Wow Wednesday today. So thank you, Trish, for being with me today, always, throughout my life. You've been such an amazing mentor and leader in my life. So thank you, sister.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And today we're going to be talking about leadership. You know, it's very interesting that the people that tend to think of themselves as leaders are the people who lead others. So managers in corporations, business owners with employees. But the fact is, we're all leaders, aren't we?
We definitely all are leaders, because people are always watching. You know, now more than ever, people are always watching. And the thing about leadership, and I'm going to invite us to dive right into the conversation today. We're going to go for about a half hour, and then we're going to open up for question and answer. So please do, if you have a thought, an inspiration, a concern, a question, jot it down. You can put it in the chat. We are also live on Facebook, so you can put it in the comments, and then there'll be an opportunity for us to talk and have a conversation. Because today's topic about leadership is leadership essentials. So as a leader, we're casting visions. A vision is a desire for how you want something to be better, improved, or different. We do that in our families. We do that in our business. We do that for ourselves, creating visions for improvement. And with these leadership essentials I want to share today, it's all about being able to cast a vision that enrolls, elevates, and inspires others. And that's the conversation we want to have. I think it was John Maxwell, great, amazing leadership coach, mentor, leader, who's written 90 books on leadership. He said, you know, if you think you're a leader but nobody's following you, you're just going for a walk. Like, who's walking with you is what we want to be really focused upon, because any great change, any great vision for improvement is something that's going to require many people to be involved in. So I want you to think about that. Let's start by thinking about, what is your vision? What is that positive impact and change you are seeking to see happen in the world with your contribution to it? So start thinking along those lines. Oh, you're on mute, Trish.
Yes. That's because I'm typing in the Facebook group at the same time. I didn't want you to hear my clicking. So yeah, definitely give us some questions as we go today, because this conversation is one that's going to move your life forward. So Nancy, I know that you have just re-released the book, The One Philosophy. And the new improved version is so really it's extraordinary. And I think it's really profound, the changes that you made. So if you've had the book in the past, you definitely want to get the new version because it's updated and improved, if you can believe it. So I know that today your leadership conversation is centered around the one, right?
It is. It is. And I believe everything boils down to the principles of the one philosophy and being the one. And one of the things I want us to consider is, why is it that when we graduate from high school and maybe through some of our high school years, there's no more education provided to us by mainstream as it relates to our people skills, interacting with one another? We're kind of left to our own devices to figure out all that stuff out. And the basis of the one philosophy has to do with how we treat one another as human beings. And part of my inspiration for updating the book last year and then releasing it this spring was what I saw happening in the way people were treating, responding, and reacting to each other in this world. And particularly, I live in the United States, so there was a lot happening here, whether it was the political climate, whether it had to do with, systemic racism, whether it had to do with people being anti-vax and what's going on with COVID. Like, oh my gosh, I wanted to give us an easy, simple path to get back to what I believe we all really want. And it's to be loving and kind and appreciated and valued. And that's what the one philosophy is all about.
That's the truth. It is about being loving, kind, appreciated, and valued. And truthfully, I think the majority of people are that way.
I agree.
And unfortunately, because of, the media, and I don't mean to point a finger, but because the media, and when I say that, I mean television shows, movies, radio shows, news, they have to get ratings. They have to get people watching. Mm-hmm. So they pander to the basest emotions. So that does not show people who are doing good in the world. There are very few shows in the media that point to the good in the world. And that's what the one philosophy is about, is living as the one every single day. So take us through the tenets of the one philosophy.
Let me do that in a moment, because I really want to lay a stronger foundation based upon some of the things that you just talked about. So the media, TV shows, newspapers, all of that, when you talked about they need to get ratings, so they're responding to these base needs, which have to do with fear and scarcity and things like that. Here's where I want us to go to. And we could blame the media, but let's go another layer deeper. Does anyone here really believe that a baby is born with hatred? Are babies born with hatred or prejudice? No. Babies are born pure and clear and filled with love and opportunity and possibility. And then as we go through our lives, we have experiences with other human beings that cause those feelings of fear, doubt, scared, we form these memories over time that makes up these fears. So it's really a vicious cycle of preying on the fears and building them out. So what can we do? What can we do as individuals, as leaders, to break the cycle? And John Krasinski, who was on the show The Office for many years, during the pandemic, he started a great show on YouTube called Some Good News, SGNTV. And it was all about sharing great stories. And here's my invitation. Let's shift media by all of us collectively placing more attention on those stories. Because as we get those stories trending and hooking us into watching media, those will be the profit centers. So we can do things. We can do things.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you and I were a part of exactly that. And that show will be coming out at the end of this year. And that was Awakening Giants, where leaders from all over the world came together to just show what leaders are like behind the scenes. Because so many times people think, oh, you know, a leader is somebody special and they've been bred for this and they've gone to school for this. I remember when I went to the Martin Luther King Jr. House in Atlanta, where he grew up until he was 12 years old, and then he moved away. But that house, when the person who was touring told us about him, he said, this is where Martin Luther King hid under the stairs with his sister when they played hide and seek. And this is where he helped his mom in the kitchen. And this is where he slept at night and did his schoolwork. And he said, the whole point of you being here is to understand that he was just like any other little boy that made a choice to be a leader. And leadership is a choice. Leadership is something, you're not born with that. It's a choice of the way to live your life.
John, going back, that was great, Trish. And going back to John Maxwell, what he says that leaders develop daily. Mm-hmm. And that is true. Leaders develop daily, and we must all develop daily, because while leaders develop daily, leadership happens in the moment. And we've got to be prepared to lead when that time comes.
Yes. You know, it's interesting. Andrea Feinberg just wrote in the chat on the Facebook Live that in 1958, Rodgers and Hammerstein, great duo that wrote for Broadway, they wrote the song, You've Got to Be Carefully Taught. That's the title of the song. You've got to be carefully taught. And it was a song about racial inequities and discrimination for the show South Pacific, which was about World War II and Japanese and the internment camps and those kinds of things. So it was the central theme of that show that you had to be taught the right way to treat people. And you have to be carefully taught, because there is discrimination and misunderstanding out there. So it's up to each of us to carefully teach the people in our lives. So thank you for that, Andrea. Great show, by the way. That's the one with I want to wash that man right out of my hair. So yeah, you've got to be carefully taught, because it is a taught thing. It's a learned behavior.
Yeah. And so let's take a look at being carefully taught and being carefully teaching as a leader, because that's the other side of it, is we're leading by example. So what I want to share with you is in the book, The One Philosophy, there are 6 basic principles for living the one philosophy that apply to every single aspect of your life, your personal life, your personal visions and goals and dreams, your interaction with others, your family, your business. So if you, just saying, if you don't have the book, go get it. You can just go to theonephilosophy.com. And today what I want to lead us into is the 6 principles of the one philosophy, specifically as it pertains to leadership. And I wanted to have this conversation because if you're a part of our community, if you're connected with me in any way, whether it's, through social media, through speaking engagements, I suspect that you're somebody who is already in a position of leadership, stepping into or stepping up to that next level of leadership in your life and in your business. And the principles of the one philosophy as it pertains to leadership, so that you can cast a vision that enroll and inspires others, requires your way of being to be that, really intentional way of being that adds the most value for the most people. So I want to share the 6 principles of the one philosophy that support vision that enroll and inspire. There we go. Hello, Facebook. I want to share the 6 principles of the one philosophy as it pertains to leadership to support you in being a more powerful, engaging, and thoughtful leader. So I'm going to dive in to these 6 principles and using an acrostic of the words the one, THEONE. So to be a leader who casts a vision that enrolls and inspires others is learning to, the first letter T, trust your intuition. And this kind of anchors back to what we were talking about with fears and doubts. When you are connected to your intuition, it is my belief that you are connected to the source of all that is, the source of creation, the source of your purpose, passion, and power. And when we can trust our intuition, it will not lead us astray. So our body has an inborn, innate ability to know what is life enhancing for us or life destroying, anabolic or catatonic, I believe are the 2 technical terms for it. When, and this is true if you've ever read the book by Malcolm Gladwell called Blink, this is true. If somebody ever walked in a room and you're like, the little hairs on the back of your neck go up, intuition is a real thing. It's not just some woo-woo thing. Intuition, the body's innate intelligence, is a real thing. What happens to us is all the noise out in the world that we are subject to muffles our ability to be able to hear it. So as a leader, you must not only learn to trust your intuition, but cultivate your intuition. And that anchors back to that piece where leaders develop daily. So as a leader, trust your intuition. You got to create that that space to hear that small, still voice within, because that's your guidance. And it will, learning to listen to it, you can always count on it. And I can give a simple example. I mean, this may not relate to leadership necessarily. I went to get my hair done a couple of years ago around the holidays. And as I was leaving the hair salon, my normal way home is to turn left, and then I go this way and that way. And I needed to get some plants. I was having a holiday party and I wanted to get some plants to decorate the outside of my house. So as I'm just driving, I got my hair done, got in the house, and I was going to go to Home Depot or wherever I was going to go after the fact. And suddenly something told me turn right instead of turning left. I was like, but that's the long way. Why would I do that? So, there's nurseries all along the road on that way home. That'll be great. I'll be able to go to some nurseries, pick up some new plants. So I'm driving down the road. No nurseries were open. I couldn't get to them, whatever it was. I turn right towards home and there's Lowe's. And Lowe's had plants on sale for 75% off. Like,
that's a bargain.
I know, Bargarama. And here, because I have consistently cultivated listening to my intuition and trusting it, the answers I need always follow. So as you're building your business, if you're wondering, should I do this Facebook ad? Should I go on YouTube? Should I do this? Like, there's so many choices that we're faced with in growing our businesses. Learn to ask and trust your intuition.
Yeah, absolutely. It's your intuition is going to tell you, and it's just sometimes, in fact, somebody in Roz mentioned in the chat, if you're not sure if you should listen to your intuition or not, do some muscle testing on it. What do you think about that?
Well, muscle testing ties directly with the body's innate intelligence. So muscle testing is about asking your body, is this something that's, good for me or not good for me? And there's a whole process of applied kinesiology. So thank you for that, Rose. But that's a conversation for another day.
Well, and quickly, you can always do this kind of muscle test. It's very simple, very easy. So if you put both of your hands into the OK symbol, where your thumb and your forefinger are making an O, and you put those two O's together and you ask yourself the question, should I do this? And for example, should I make a left turn? And you pull. If you cannot pull your fingers apart, the answer is listen to your intuition and make that left turn. If you can pull your fingers apart, your intuition is telling you, no, that's not the right thing. So I love that little tip and that little, just a little bit of kinesiology. And I know it's a big subject, but I do love the idea of muscle testing.
Well,
So just that.
beautiful. And let me share why that works. Because when you ask a question for something that is good for your body is strong. It gives you a strong response. If it's something that's not good for you, you get a weak response. That's why that happens in that way.
Interesting. It's really, really good. And it works every time, as Deb says in the chat.
It does. I do a lot of that. So
yeah. Sherry Martin says, as Marty Ward taught us, follow your gut.
Yeah, follow your gut. It knows the way. So learn to cultivate it, and that requires daily focus and attention on it. So please, leaders are readers. Leaders are people who take time to cultivate their knowledge, their growth, their skill sets. So trusting your intuition is all part of that, leaders developing daily. So let me go on to the next one, because this one is important too. And this one, the letter H, this principle has a lot to do with the way you behave, treat, and listen to others. So this letter H is to honor the feedback of others. And
I love that.
This is an interesting one, especially when we talk about people in positions of leadership, because leaders are the ones that make the ultimate decisions for their businesses, for their companies, for their families, for their communities, whatever role you're serving in as a leader. And it's important to be able to receive other people's feedback, take it in as information, but then take it into transformation to trust your intuition again. So sometimes we can do a couple of different things as leaders as it pertains to feedback. We can get so much feedback that we're overwhelmed and not sure what the decision is. So we want to be able to take that in and then decipher it with intuition for leadership, with the vision of whatever that project is that you're working on. The other thing that can happen as leaders is sometimes we can poo-poo or dismiss. So one of the ways that we're talking about having a vision that enrolls, inspires, and elevates others is whether or not you agree with somebody's opinion, honor the fact that they had the courage and commitment to share it with you. So honoring the feedback of others is welcoming all input from other people, even if you have what landmark education refers to as an already always way of listening to someone. You know, this person always says something that talks about politics. This person always says something that's negative. This person always says, so we can develop a way of listening to people through prejudged filters of them. Honoring the feedback of others has you listen from a place of openness of what is here for me to learn, because there just may be something there for you to learn.
Exactly. Yeah. And, feedback is truly a gift, and it's so easy to poo-poo it. And it's always worth looking at what is happening here. What is someone else seeing that I'm not seeing? Being open to it is the most important thing, isn't it?
It totally is. And one of the things that I learned in developing Women's Prosperity Network. So before Women's Prosperity Network, we had a title company. We were doing real estate coaching and investing. And this is before the bubble burst. So here's where intuition played in. I'm going to dovetail for a moment. 2006 was when the stirring first started to happen for me. I don't really like this life of this happy, successful real estate mogul. And I wasn't happy. I was, making all kinds of money, but I wasn't happy on the inside. And I started the search. So isn't it fascinating how in 2005, 6, when I started getting those intuitive hits, maybe this isn't your path, Nancy, I started looking for something else, which prepared me for the bubble bursting, because I was already moving in another direction. So that's where listening to your intuition will always serve you. But I digress. So
I love this. I love this because, you've been talking about the one philosophy for a long time. And I love how you morphed these tenets of the one philosophy around leadership. So these are all new. If you've heard Nancy speak about this before, all of these, the T, the H, the E, are all brand new. So make sure you're taking some notes on this, because you're giving us gold, baby.
And thank you. Thank you. I received that feedback. And remember, that's feedback too, my friends. Right? So the principles around leadership and everything, all of the principles that I teach related to the one philosophy are all about who we're being. Because that's really all we have control of. Who we're being, how we're responding, how we're showing up. So honoring the feedback of others is the second one. And we're like past the halfway mark. So I'm going to keep on rolling, baby. And then we'll open up for some questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And the comments are coming in the chat too, which is great. Good. So thank you everybody for playing.
Awesome. All right. So let's go to the letter E. As a leader is to examine your motives. So when you take a look at any action step that you're taking, look at what are your motives for doing this action. And this one, I got this lesson many times in my life. And I'll just boil this one down to, let's say you're in business and you have the opportunity to do a joint venture with someone. When this has happened to us. So we've done joint ventures with certain other big gurus in the industry. And those joint ventures were good. So we did an event together. They sold their thing. We made tens of thousands of dollars. They delivered on the product. Easy peasy, fun day to bring value to our community in another way.
Right.
Well, the fulfillment with this other person wasn't as to our standards that we want for our members. So when a few years later, they asked to do another joint venture with us, if my motive was to make some money, I would have said yes. But my motive was about serving my communities the best as possible. So when you're in decision-making mode, taking any kind of actions, examine your motives. Go underneath to discover why it is that you're doing something. I'm going to keep rolling, Trish, so that we can get to Q&A.
Yeah, go ahead.
The next letter O is to omit ego. Now, this one can be challenging. And as you're coming up in leadership and having more visibility and exposure, and you're getting all those accolades from people telling you how wonderful, you can get kind of a swelled head around it. And there's a delicate balance of staying grounded, staying confident, but not being egotistical. One of the things, the quotes that I found from Lao Tzu, he says that a leader is best when people barely know he exists. When his work is done, his aim is fulfilled, they will say, oh, we did it ourselves. Like, think about that.
I love that.
When a leader is best when people barely know he exists. When his work is done, his aim fulfilled, they will say, we did it ourselves. So there's a gentle balance in being able to stand strong and confident without succumbing to the vanity. Like if we look at some of, our primal instincts, we want to be valued, we want attention. So notice and take time to remember where everything comes from, and that what's coming to you is meant to come through you, not just for you. So omit ego. The next letter N is actually so important that I included this in both the core principles of the one philosophy as well as in the leadership principles. And that is to never, 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 never gossip. And specifically as it relates to leadership, let me give you an example. I just told a story of somebody who I didn't really like how they were showing up. I never told you their name. I never got specific about it. Had I done so, that would have been like gossiping, speaking ill of another person. So as a leader, to be a leader who's trusted, who's worth following, never, never gossip, never speak ill of other people. because it creates really, really poor culture in your organizations, in your tribes. Like it creates fear, lack of trust, because your followers, the people that work with you, they're going to be saying, oh, if she's talking about this one, what's she saying about me?
Right.
Be a person of character who just doesn't speak poorly of other people. Now, that said, you're going to get ticked off and irritated and pissed off. That's going to happen. So what you want to be able to do as a leader, as a human being, is have someone in your life that you can just vent to and get this stuff out of you, because you just need to process it to get to the other side. So have those trusted people that know I'm just blowing off steam. This is just me processing some emotions.
Yes, absolutely. And here's the thing. If you are in a group of people and they are starting to go off on somebody else's thing, just like when you hear anything that you know is not right, you've got to speak up and say, hey, you know, we all have our issues and we all have things that go on in our lives. Let's just keep it about what we are and not be talking about somebody who's not even here. And remember to be compassionate, because it all comes back to compassion. We're always, for some reason, humans judge. And when we bring in the compassion, the judgment goes away. So thanks for that one, Nancy.
Yeah, that's a big one. And thank you for mentioning that. Like when you're in a space and there's gossip happening, or conversations that they're unkind, like you said, remember this: sitting in that room and saying nothing has people believe you agree with them.
Silence. Yep.
Go ahead, Trish.
Silence equals agreement. Always. Always.
Yeah. So
and a leader speaks up.
Yeah. Now, and I want to take us back to this, where we started today. Why is this so important? Why are these conversations we're having so important? Is because there's not enough of them being had. We're all out in the world interacting, connecting with each other, but no one's reminding us of who we really want to be, need to be, and can be for one another. These conversations are going to heal the world and bring them together. So let me share the last letter, the letter E, which is to elevate others. Always find a way to lift others up. You know, they say a rising tide lifts all boats. You as a leader must be that rising tide. People love to be around people that make them feel good. Going back to Maya Angelou, people will not remember what you said. They won't remember what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And if you make a commitment in your life to always find a way to elevate people in every phone call, every interaction, every social media post, if possible, right? Find a way to always elevate others. You will have many, many people who want to be a part of what you're creating because they feel good around it.
Yeah, I love that. A rising tide lifts all boats. Think about the power in that. You are the rising tide.
Right.
You are the one that makes the difference.
Yes.
Excellent. So give us a quick rundown of THEONE one more time.
These are the leadership principles for the One Philosophy. The 6 main ones are in the book. One day I'm going to write the book, Leadership Now, but it didn't happen yet. So anyway, leadership principles: trust your intuition, honor the feedback of others. E, examine your motives. O, omit ego. N, never, 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 never gossip. And then the last letter E is to elevate others.
Yes, wonderful. It's wonderful. Well, we've had some great comments in the chat as we've been going, also comments on the Facebook page. I love what Lawana Parker said when you were talking about never, never gossip. And, you know, some people just want to vent that somebody did something. Yeah. Lawana says, you can vent in a journal. You don't need to vent to everybody else, right?
Good, very good. The queen of journaling. I love that. Thank you, Lawana.
Yes, and Karen Mayfield says she's not sure who coined this phrase, but she loves the phrase, the speed of the leader determines the pace of the pack.
Correct. That's a long tried and true one. It might be Stephen Covey or somebody even before him.
Yes.
And as leaders, as human beings, we all have a responsibility. So I'm going to get on my soapbox for a little bit longer for just a moment. If you don't like how people are behaving and showing up around you, and you're bitching and moaning and complaining about how everybody else is behaving, that's when we need to take a look inside. We always want to look at ourselves first, because I do believe that every single human being is put in our path for a primary purpose, which is to give us the opportunity to find a way to be a higher expression of love in that moment. And it's not always easy. But when you get upset, when you get hurt, when you get, irate about things that are happening, ask yourself this question: what would love do? If I was coming from a place of love, how would I respond, think, and feel? We'd have compassion. Every single person who's angry and acting up and acting out is coming from their prior experience. Let's go back to remembering they weren't born as a baby with hatred in their heart, but it got covered. It got chipped away. And that's our way back home. That's our way back home for all of us.
Love it. Karen Mayfield says, Nancy, tell it. Get on that soapbox and get us lathered up. That's wonderful. There was a great comment in the chat from Deb Nye when we were talking. It's really about fear versus ego. The ego is the thing that comes in all the time. And Deb says, I like to drop the E and let's go.
Oh, good one. Good one. Let's go ahead and take some questions. We got Roz is ready. Trish, are you going to do the participants, or you want me to?
Let's see. I think all I have to do is click ask to unmute, and there's Roz.
There you go. And let me quickly mention, for those of you who would like to share, simply hit *6 on your phone, and that will have you raise your hand. And we'd love to hear from you.
And if you're on your computer, of course, you can hit the raise hand in the bottom bar. Beautiful. Roz Knighton Warfield, thanks for being with us this morning. Your line is open.
Thank you, Nancy. Girl, you was teaching and preaching today. And I want to say this, I had the honor of my best friend on the infomercial show, and she teaches what's called the U team. So as believers, we know in Romans, it talks about our carnality. But one day I was so mad, I said, I'm going to just kill my ego. And after I thought about it, I was like, that would be suicide. If I kill my ego, I won't exist anymore. But how do we really understand a harmonizing of our spirit man, our rational self, and our ego to be team players with each other? And that's where the cultivation comes in for me. So I love the principles. Thank you so much. You are loved, appreciated, celebrated, valued, and most cherished. This is God amazing. I yield my mic, but know I always have a WPN voice. Take care.
Beautiful. Thank you, Roz. Thank you, Roz. And I love that you brought that up, because the ego is part of us. So for me, and I experienced this, I got a little full of myself when I was first stepping into higher levels of leadership. And it was actually a combination of continued spiritual development and connection to God, source, universe, knowing that whatever I am gifted with, I'm going to appreciate it and say, damn, ain't I amazing? Yeah, I am amazing. But that only means I recognize the amazingness that I've been given. My light, me saying, yeah, look at my bright light, is not about pointing fingers and saying your light isn't bright. It's not about comparison. So that place of ego as part of us is appreciating how totally freaking awesome we are. And so are you.
Right.
And so is everyone else.
Yes. Patricia Rogers in the chat on Facebook is saying, I believe that some people act out because they're unhappy with themselves. And because they're unhappy with themselves, they want to rain on the parade of those who are moving in a direction that they desire. So Patricia says, I pray for them.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to pray for them and pray for ourselves in the process. How can I let people see who I am so they can be who they're meant to be? They can release some of their fears, doubts, worries, jealousies, and all of that. Like, the more transparent we can all be, it gives everyone else permission to do the same.
Exactly. So in the feel free to raise your hand. I'd love to have you come into the conversation and join us. We're getting so many great comments in the chat. Like, Ivis, you were saying your ego is not your amigo. Go ahead and open up. I'd love to talk more about that. So if you're on your phone, I'm going to give you the allow to talk signal. Go ahead and just unmute yourself and tell me a little bit about that. Your ego is not your amigo.
Hi, I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you beautifully. Thank you so much, Evis. I'm so glad that you're here with us this morning.
Okay, so I can't talk much because I'm at work.
Okay.
But I just listen to you guys when I'm driving from home to work. That's what I can do, and I always enjoy. Thank you so much. And this expression that your ego is not your amigo is because I heard that with some conference a while ago, and sometimes we don't realize that the ego is in front, and we react or we respond in the wrong way. And then we need to realize that in order for us to shine our light bright, we don't need to definitely make other people let down other people or just try to
That's right.
to exalt all our qualities. We just need to be humble, listen, keep shining, and let others shine too.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Beautiful. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Evis. And thanks for whispering. And going to share. Go back to work now. Thank you, my friend. That was great. That was really fun. Yeah. Your ego is not your amigo. Definitely not your amigo. And somebody, Janet Scudder was asking that there was a statement that you said that, and it was leadership is best when, do you remember what you said there?
I do. A leader is best when people don't know he exists. When his work is done and his aim is fulfilled, they will say, we did it ourselves. And that is by Lao Tzu, Laotzu, ancient Chinese philosopher.
Ancient Chinese secret, hey? Very good. Very, very good. Yeah. The comments that we're getting, Karen Mayfield said, there will be no peace until the ego has been rasped into positive service.
I like that. That's
really positive service. She also said ego is, let's change that to earth-guided orientation, because that's really what it is. Your ego is responding to everything that's happening around you, while your inner self doesn't have to respond to any of that, because your inner being is calm and cool at all times.
If you practice,
yes,
you develop daily. And one of the things, as we're getting ready to wrap up here, one of the things that I really want to invite us all to consider is, what can you do today to elevate someone else? What can you do today to lift up another being and lift yourself even higher? So the practice of really valuing other people, being the one who treats everyone you meet as the one. So when you go out in your world today, or you see something on Facebook that ticks you off, pisses you off, makes you angry or upset or hurts your feelings, ask yourself the question, what would love do? If I could feel compassion and love and acknowledge that whatever was being said is from what Eckhart Tolle refers to as the pain body. You know, people speak from the pains that they've experienced and their fears and their doubts, and people get angry so that it's really a defense mechanism. So if we can remember that, you know, people don't want to hurt you unless they're hurting. You've heard it, hurt people hurt people. So
Right.
I'm inviting us all to step up to a higher level of who we're being in our daily lives, as well as in our businesses and our communities and everywhere. You're a leader. You are a leader.
Yes, yes, yes. Eva says, practice, 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 just like your speaking class, Trish. This too is a muscle we all need to strengthen to the point that it's automatic.
Beautiful.
That's the key. It's automatic. Well, thank you everyone for being with us this morning. We appreciate you so much. And the chat is just still blowing up. If you want to join us, we have a couple minutes left. If you want to say something, just hit *6 on your phone or raise your hand, and we would love to bring you in. Roz Knight says you are loved, appreciated, celebrated, valued, and most cherished. And that's a message for all of us for sure. And Carol Pilkington wants to remind everybody, she's watching on Facebook, she says, what we do to another, we do to ourselves.
Yeah. And I want to wrap us up today with this. I'm not perfect. I screw up. I get angry. I get irritated. I get sad. I get scared. I just don't stay there.
Right.
We're still human. So as we have this conversation, it's not from a place of, you know, better than or perfection. None of that. It's just what can I do today to just improve how I'm showing up with others. And that's really all we need to do to make that difference. So as long as we're having this human experience, we're going to have the range of human emotions. The key is not to stay there and let your reactions determine the quality of your life.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Nancy Matthews, for once again reminding us that leadership comes from within and that we can be the change we want to see in the world. That's what it's all about.
My pleasure and my purpose and my hope, my intention is that many of the things that I shared today, you've heard before, and it's really nothing new, but that today you're reminded of something that maybe you forgot about, and you show up with more love, compassion, and kindness, both for yourself and for others.
Be sure to go to theonephilosophy.com and get your copy of the new edition of The One Philosophy by Nancy Matthews. And I even urge you to give it as a gift. Anytime I work with corporations and companies, one of the first things I give them as a gift is The One Philosophy, so that we can all be on the same foundational understanding of how we are with people, because people are the thing that makes the world go round. And it's the number one skill, the number one way. We all get what we want when we just help other people get what they want, as Zig Ziglar said. So Nancy Matthews, thank you so much. Appreciate you. And we will be here again next Wednesday morning with another Wow Wednesday. Thank you so much for all of you being here, for your participation, your attention, all of the great comments. Thanks for being a part of the show, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you, everyone. If you're not yet a member, go to womensprosperityNetwork.com and get started for free. Awesome. See you soon. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Happy Wow Wednesday.